which one is better?
We may have a new contender for best day at work ever.
Welcome to Drive Reviews. On this episode, we delve into the opulent world of the Rolls-Royce Spectre. Tom takes the wheel of the rugged new Toyota Tundra. But first, we'll kick things off with the sleek and innovative BYD Dolphin.
The Dolphin is BYD's second model to arrive in Australia after the larger S02E04 lobbed in late 2022. The entry-level BYD Dolphin Dynamic starts from $38,890 plus on-road costs. Our tester is the up-spec premium model, however, which costs $44,890 plus on-road costs. This upgrades the electric motor from 70 kilowatts and 180 newton meters up to 150 kilowatts and 310 newton meters. Charging speeds go from 60 to 80 kilowatts, and the battery size goes from 44.9 up to 60.48 kilowatt hours. This increases the claimed WLTP driving range from 340 to 427 kilometers, and the claimed 0 to 100 time drops down from 12.3 to 7.7 seconds. That means this Dolphin Premium goes up against a mid-spec GWM Aura extended range and the MG4 Excite 64. On the outside, this premium spec also gets 17-inch alloy wheels and a two-tone paint job, along with a more efficient heat pump and more sophisticated independent rear suspension under the skin.
Here's the interior of the new Dolphin, and I've got to say it's quite an impressive setup, especially in comparison to what this car is competing with. Remember, this is a very cheap electric car in the scheme of things, but it doesn't feel cheap inside. Firstly, materials. I want to talk about the contrast of materials we've got here. We haven't got all those crazy colours like the S02E04, but we do have a nice mixture of hard plastics with different textures going on. We've got some shiny black plastics and then some other textures up here as well. So it's got a nice finish to it, I think. And in terms of practicalities, this is good also. We've got a storage bin up the top here. That'll fit a smartphone pretty well, but you can also fit your phone here in this nice slot. That's actually a wireless phone charger. And that means that this is not a console in terms of storage. That is just a spot for your elbow. At least it is nicely padded though. Now, in terms of infotainment and that sort of thing, you would recognize this screen. It's a 12.8-inch infotainment display. That is the same as the S02E04, and of course, it's got that cool party trick as well. The other things you do have in this infotainment is things like climate controls and that sort of thing. You do need to go through here to get to it, heated seats, other vehicle controls. This does a lot of the heavy lifting in terms of what you want out of the vehicle. We've got a spinning volume thing here, which controls obviously the volume for the infotainment. And on the other side, that's actually your gear shifter, which is quite novel, I think. I haven't seen something like that before. And then your power outlets are hiding under here. This interior, for the money, is quite good.
With an 80 kilowatt charging capacity and 60 kilowatt hour battery, the Dolphin can go from 10 to 80% as fast as 38 minutes.
Now, the first thing to note straight away is that this Dolphin we're in at the moment does have the more powerful motor and larger battery. That does come with a caveat, however. These tyres that are fitted to the Dolphin, they are a Linglong Comfort Master is the name of them, and they do have a fair amount of trouble dealing with the amount of torque that we've got on offer here. In terms of body control, handling and that sort of thing, steering feel, this Dolphin doesn't feel too bad. It's definitely not a hot hatch, but in terms of lateral grip as you start to load the car up through corners, it's not too bad. Now, we're currently driving through the city at the moment. This is where a car like this will likely spend most of its time, and it's where I've done most of my test driving as well, because I think it's important to get an accurate representation of the efficiency of the vehicle in this kind of scenario. And I can tell you right now that we've been using around 13.8 kilowatt hours per 100 Ks, which is quite a respectable figure. And it means that you will quite comfortably get over 400 kilometers out of this vehicle in between recharges, which, let's face it, is plenty enough for this kind of car.
When I first drove the BYD S02E04 a little while ago now, I came away surprisingly impressed by the car. So this time around, I'm still impressed, but not so surprised. The big strengths for me, absolutely, the interior and most of the technology. Some of it is a little bit hit and miss,
but I like the build quality and just the sense of execution that this car has overall. There's a fair amount of battery on offer in terms of driving range. The driving experience isn't too bad. Those tyres do let it down a little bit. And of course, the boot maybe is a little bit underdone in comparison to the rest of the vehicle. Now, the big question is, of course, is this better than an MG4? Is it better than a GWM Aura? I would definitely edge it ahead of the GWM. The MG4, that is an interesting one, I think, and it's going to take a real head-to-head comparison to nut it out because they're two different offerings and they're both extremely good. I think the MG will be the driver's car, but this does have advantages of its own. So this is very good. I like it a lot. Which is better? I'm going to hedge my bets for now.
Still to come on Drive Reviews, Jess guides us through the epitome of luxury with the Rolls-Royce Spectre, and later we look at the rugged new Toyota Tundra. Welcome back to Drive Reviews. Later we will take a look at the remarkable towing capabilities of the Toyota Tundra. But first, Jess takes us on an exquisite tour of the Rolls-Royce Spectre.
In the year 1900, Charles Stuart Rolls made the bold declaration that the electric car is perfectly noiseless and clean, it doesn't smell or vibrate, and it will be fully useful once fixed charging stations are fully available. Well, over a century later, and his vision is finally recognised with the Rolls-Royce Spectre, the first fully electric super coupe.
The Spectre is a two-door, all-wheel drive, all-wheel steering super coupe. Nearly 5.5 metres long and weighing nearly 3 tonnes. Blimey. Rolls-Royce says it is the spiritual successor to the Phantom Coupe. It sits between the Cullinan SUV and Ghost Saloon. It's priced at $770,000 before on-road costs and stamp duty. And of course, you can spend literally hundreds of thousands more on customisation, of which the options are seemingly limitless. The all-electric powertrain is said to create what Rolls-Royce has been trying to produce for years: instant torque, silent running, and the sense of one endlessly smooth gear. The front electric motor produces 190 kilowatts or 365 newton meters, with the rear motor delivering 360 kilowatts or 710 newton meters. Total system output is 430 kilowatts and 900 newton meters. Rolls-Royce says the Spectre will go 0 to 100 kilometers in 4.5 seconds. The car has a range of 530 kilometers. Bear in mind the typical Rolls-Royce client drives an average of 5,100 kilometers per year in their current Rolls-Royce, which is likely to be one of 7 cars in their garage. Charge time from 10 to 80% is 34 minutes, using an 195 kilowatt fast charger, or 100 kilometers in around 9 minutes.
So, looking at the design of the car, let's start at the front, which really defines the whole car. Looking at the grille first, you can see that it's shorter than the Phantom, but certainly wider. It's the widest grille, in fact, that Rolls-Royce has ever produced. And then, of course, there is the Spirit of Ecstasy, sitting there sublimely at the front, flying in front of the driver. In fact, it took the design modelling team 830 hours to get to this point. You can see that she's almost in a crouching position, as if she's about to take off, which is emblematic of the fact that the Spectre is actually the most aerodynamic car that Rolls-Royce has designed. When you get to the side of the car, you can really get a sense of the sheer size. You've got the long wheelbase, which houses all of the batteries in between, and then you can see that even though the car has an overall smoothness in its curves, there are in fact 3 subtle lines that really distinguish the shape. You've got the silhouette line along the top here, and then you've got the shoulder line and the waft line along the bottom. Now, the shoulder line and the waft line are tapered towards the front, and they're designed so that light against the surface looks a bit like how light would reflect off a yacht. Then the silhouette line is tapered towards the back, and that's designed to look like a racing yacht. So you can see this idea of luxury transport appears to be a key inspiration across the whole design.
The tail lamps are clear to allow for any body colour. The car comes with 23-inch wheels and tyres, the biggest that have ever been fitted as standard on a Rolls-Royce. And at 1.5 metres long, the rear hinge doors are also the biggest the brand has ever created. Inside the cabin, you're met with, well, silence. It's what Rolls-Royce is known for, but in the Spectre, some ambient noise has even been filtered into the car because feedback from some prototype drives was that the silence was actually a bit unnerving.
The seats are made of Napa leather. They feel like sitting in butter. There's, of course, nothing so crass as having comfort, eco and sport in this car. Nope, instead you've just got this one lever for your 3 different driving modes. You've got drive, reverse and neutral. In front of me here then, I've got the driver's instrument cluster, and this is actually the first time Rolls-Royce have produced an entirely digital instrument cluster for you here. You've then obviously got your infotainment system, and actually over here on the passenger side, you're able to have an illuminated display in front of them there too.
In the car, you'll also meet Eleanor, your own personal assistant who can be activated by voice control. The Spectre is said to be Rolls-Royce's most connected car ever, with digital architecture built to give you charging times, remote functions, as well as connectivity to the exclusive Whispers app.
If you're in a Rolls-Royce, you are, of course, probably already used to the Starlight headliner, but in the Spectre, you get Starlight doors as well. This is, of course, the first fully electric offering from one of the world's most illustrious brands. Proof, perhaps, that even more luxurious cars are ready for zero emissions.
Coming up next, we dive into the details of the Toyota Tundra, and later buckle up for an exhilarating road and terrain test drive. Welcome back to Drive Reviews. Before we hit the road, let's delve deeper into the impressive features of the Toyota Tundra.
Australia is becoming a new battleground for American designed and built pickup trucks. It's the kind of action that Australia's best-selling car maker, Toyota, is particularly keen on. So it's currently trialling up to 300 examples of this Toyota Tundra on our roads in a world-first exercise. Toyota already sells plenty of towing vehicles in our market, but the brand is preparing to offer the Tundra pickup locally by importing it as a left-hand drive vehicle as built in the United States, and then remanufacturing the Tundra to right-hand drive with the help from the Walkinshaw Automotive Group. What we do know for sure about the Toyota Tundra for Australia is the fact that it'll come with an iForce Max powertrain under the bonnet, a twin-turbo 3.5-litre V6 hybrid petrol engine. This develops up to 326 kilowatts and 790 newton meters. In the United States, where the Tundra is built, Toyota claims the vehicle can run on a combined fuel consumption of 11.2 litres per 100 kilometres. Not bad for a behemoth that weighs up to 2,778 kilograms. Now, Toyota Australia's wish for including this model in our local lineup centres around its towing ability. Whether it's a horse float, car trailer, or even a great big boat, the Tundra can tow up to 4,500 kilograms after being fitted with an upgraded tow ball. It stocks inbuilt towing features including an integrated brake controller, plus a specific towing mode that automatically tweaks shift points, throttle response, and even aerodynamics. Power is supplied by a twin-turbocharged 3.5-litre V6 petrol engine that provides output to a dual-range four-wheel drive system. The difference for this powertrain, though, is the fact that it's joined by hybrid assistance. Toyota is coy to call it a hybrid itself because the hybrid component focuses on providing ultimate pulling power. Instead, the brand refers to it as the iForce Max system, incorporating a 290 kilowatt, 650 newton meter petrol motor with a 36 kilowatt, 250 newton meter electric motor generator. In terms of design, you can quickly see that this is like nothing we've come to expect from Toyota in Australia before. In terms of the front fascia, you've got two headlights set at the extreme edges of the front fascia and a big wide grille which feeds that twin turbocharged iForce Max engine. Down the side, you can see that this car is characterised by big bulging fenders. It runs on a set of 20-inch alloy wheels with highway terrain Bridgestone tyres. It's got a set of side steps and it does have a particularly high waistline. At the back, we have a drop-down tailgate which is hydraulically assisted, which is exactly what we want for people who are using this all the time. And it's also particularly easy to lift up and down. So nice one there, Toyota. Inside the cabin, the amount of space on offer is simply bewildering. I feel as though I'm sat in an entirely different postcode to this passenger here, and the wide center console could almost be used as a desk. There's all manner of storage available. You can open up this center console for a big wide bin with dual USB ports. There's a wireless phone charger, dual cup holders, all kinds of little nooks and crannies to store all your things in, and also huge door pockets as well for bottles. The level of storage on offer inside this car is simply amazing, and you won't find anything else like it on the market today. Now, the seats that I'm sat in are they're not offering a whole lot of side support, but they are very comfortable, and it does make the slide-in effort very easy when you're getting inside the car. Materials use throughout the cabin is quite nice. I've got nice door tops up here, a nice leather steering wheel. Everything feels well built and well designed as well. Now you jump inside through these big wide aperture opening doors to a massive space in the second row. Now I know I was banging on about the storage and space on offer in the front row, but this is simply amazing. I've got a huge amount of knee room. I could almost cross my legs if I wanted to. And I've got really good headroom as well. But let's see how it drives.
Still to come on Drive Reviews, Tom pushes the limits of the Toyota Tundra. Welcome back to Drive Reviews. Now get ready as Tom checks out the performance of the Toyota Tundra.
Well, here we are behind the wheel of the Toyota Tundra for the first time in Australia, which is a pretty impressive thing in its own right. And might I say, for the first impression, they've actually done a pretty decent job around here. One of the most impressive aspects about this Toyota Tundra is the fact that it has a hybrid powertrain. And actually, Toyota might like you to call it the iForce Max powertrain, because this is a hybrid like no other. Now, where normal hybrids will sort of prioritize fuel efficiency and fuel consumption, this car is far more leaning towards the performance side of things. So this is 100% a towing rig first and foremost, and in that regard, this thing really performs. We've been towing 4.5 tons on the back of this, which is what this vehicle is rated for in Australia. In the United States, it can tow up to about 5,200 kilograms, but for the time being in Australia, it's 4.5 tons, and the effort required for that feat, it really didn't phase this thing whatsoever. It's doing pretty well in regards to noise levels, vibration and harshness. Steering efforts in this thing are very, very simple. It's a light steering weight, and granted, you can't feel a whole lot of what the wheels are doing underneath. There is not that much feedback coming through the steering rack, but it does make it an easy thing to maneuver and steer within its lane. Being so large, this thing is it would be hard to handle on roads, but I'm finding it's not that hard to keep it in a straight line, steer it around bends. This kind of car, you won't experience it, you won't see it very often on Australian roads, and it is a new thing for Australians to get accustomed to. So the fact that Toyota has made it pretty simple in that regard is very decent. An aspect I want to touch on is the braking effort in this car. Being so large, you might think that it might be a little bit unwieldy coming up to a stop and going around bends, slowing down for those kinds of road situations, but I'm putting my foot on the pedal now. It stops without too much of a fuss overall, so it actually feels quite safe as well. You might be able to hear that, but it's true, Toyota has piped in some of that V6's engine noise inside the cabin, and I'm actually not hating it, even though it is not authentic. I like the fact that it comes through to the cabin and it does let you know what the engine is doing under the bonnet, because otherwise this thing is so well insulated and you don't actually get an appreciation for what the engine's doing at any given moment if you don't get that aural feedback. So I like the fact that that is piped in. Australians will have to get used to the fact that these large American pickups, they don't have that much seat bolstering and they are built for bigger sized humans, essentially. So there is not that much bolstering to keep me in my seat going around bends. And even though it does make it an easy thing to get in and out of, I really do wish there was a little bit more side support in the seats. But for the most part, they are very comfortable, and I'm very comfortable sitting on this plush seat base. All right, here we are at the moment coming up on another car around Toyota's test facility, and I'm gonna punch the accelerator. And it actually has a very, very decent pull around cars and for that overtaking ability. It does have that 10-speed gearbox, which offers up the right ratio in any given scenario. And I'm particularly impressed by this transmission. The fact that it doesn't hunt around for gears, which we've seen in some other 10-speed transmissions. The fact that it sort of just knows exactly what gear to put you in at any given point, that is really nice and reassuring. So this car being a hybrid, does have an electric powertrain that it can draw energy from as well. And we've found today that this car will actually do about 50 kilometers an hour on its own electric power. So the fact that you can pull away from a set of lights silently and then hear the petrol twin turbo V6 engine fire up, that is pretty impressive and not another feat that any other manufacturer can match. Toyota's test facility is meant to mimic an Australian road basically. So what we are experiencing at the moment is representative of what we'll find further afield out in normal Australia. So there are pock marks, there are sort of little undulations, and this car is taking it all in its stride. The Tundra sort of just pummels through all these road imperfections, and you're not feeling that little jittery sort of ride comfort that you expect from a big ute, especially when it's unladen. There are instances where this offers up a little bit of a wafty ride comfort, and when you're going over larger yumps and that sort of thing, it sort of can make its weight known, but for the most part, this car really irons out most road imperfections. It's funny, I feel like I'm sat in the absolute next suburb away from the passenger there, and there's a massive center console as well, which you could almost use as a desk, but yeah, the level of space on offer inside this thing is simply ridiculous. But that's basically what the buyers will be yearning for, that amount of space, the amount of towing ability, the amount of tray, payload, everything that this car basically offers. These are what the things that the customers have been asking for and what Toyota is providing in this Toyota Tundra.
Thanks for watching this week's episode of Drive Reviews. Remember, for a recap on any of the specifications of the cars we featured, head over to drive.com.au.